Anyway, that is Movie Actor Go. We'll transition now into our final review of the evening, and that is of Black Widow, which is Marvel's latest MCU film. The IMDb synopsis goes, Natasha Romanoff confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. It's directed by Kate Shortland, written by Eric Pearson, Jack Schaefer, and Ned Benson. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, who I didn't know this, but starred in Little Women a couple of years ago and received an Oscar nomination. Amazing.
It's a really good movie, by the way, Little Women.
Yeah, no, I'm yet to see it. She was also in a movie that Ben really enjoyed, I know, that is Fighting with My Family from 2019. We also have David Harbour, who we all know and love as Elliot Hirsch from The Newsroom. Yeah. We have Rachel Weisz and Ray Winstone as well, and also Olga Kurylenko, and William Hurt, I should note. The IMDb rating sits at 6.9, a Metascore of 67, and guess the Rotten Tomatoes, gentlemen, starting with you, Jace.
I'm
70.
It's got to be like 65 or something. It can't be.
There was a bunch of upheaval around this. I think it's higher, and people were like, "Why is it so high? This is not that good." So I'm gonna say, what did you say, Jace?
I said about 70.
Yeah, I'm gonna say mid 70s, like 74, 75.
81, certified fresh.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, people were confused by it.
I'm confused.
Anyway, it was I think my and our collective intention to go and watch this at the cinema, but due to the continuing lockdown here in New South Wales, we had no choice but to front up the ridiculous fee and watch it via Premier Access on Disney Plus.
I need to fix you up for that as well.
Oh no, don't worry about it. All good.
No, I feel obliged to do so I will.
I do not accept. And yeah, I might start off actually. Yeah, I went into this one, expectations a bit tempered. I love the character of Black Widow, and still, get a bit teary-eyed, of course, within Endgame, where she sacrifices herself, so Hawkeye can reclaim the Soul Stone for the team. Yeah, I really enjoy Scarlett Johansson as an actor, and I think some of Black Widow's action scenes throughout the MCU are some of my favorite. Yeah, I am pleasantly pleased and delighted with this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I think off the back of, I don't know, a couple of like the more recent solo Marvel movies, not entirely knocking it out of the park. I'm thinking of things like Captain Marvel and the second Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, which, I found enjoyment in, but I didn't, by any stretch of the imagination, love. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I found the action to be top notch. I thought a lot of the choreography was really fantastic. The visuals, for the most part, are pretty, in keeping with what Marvel's been able to achieve in the past. I don't think this was any less impressive than some of their work. And yeah, I really cared about a lot of these characters. In fact, Elena, is that the sister's name? Yes. Yelena, sorry, Yelena. Yeah, I really loved her arc, and the dynamic between her and her sister Natasha. Yeah, I suppose I'll start the conversation there and throw it to the amazing Jason Mira.
Wow, you're a lot more higher on it than me. Wow. Look, it was okay. The action scenes were okay. There was a lot of slow-mo that was just so unnecessary. It's like one bit comes to mind when they're struggling for the sword, and the sword goes up like this, and the camera's pointing down, and it's like slow-mo, and then stop. It's like, that was unnecessary.
Maybe you were just buffering, Jace.
No, I definitely was not buffering. And like the extra expansive shots of like the scenery, and it's like, I don't know, there are a lot of minutes wasted in this film that could have like sped up the pacing. The pacing was all over the place for me. I was speaking, the person I watched it with, I was messaging him afterwards, and I said, like, this afterward, like, there are so many parts where it's like, yeah, ramping up, the pacing was ramping up, and then it just slowed right down. and then they just had to like kind of build it up again, and then all of a sudden it was up here, and then I don't know.
I know what you mean. It didn't know which dial. Like the dial wasn't going like. It didn't. It didn't slowly build. It was like.
Like there were so many. I don't know if you've seen the honest trailers for this on YouTube. They did like a count of how many times Scarlett Johansson should have died in this movie. Like when she got kicked off the bridge, when she fell down the building, it's just like she would have been dead. But
she was in a car that just explodes and flips on the top.
Out of nowhere. Gets hit with like a rocket or something. Yeah.
The comic book nerd in me was very disappointed with Taskmaster. I would have loved to have seen more Taskmaster in it, because if you know what Taskmaster is, he copies the fighting style of everyone he fights or everyone he watches fight. And so I'd have loved to have seen more fights between Taskmaster and Black Widow. Because that would have been an awesome, like, you know, because she has a very unique fighting style, right? But then they only fought that once, and it was a bit lackluster to begin with. And like, I don't know, the whole confrontation at the end was very like, you just thought. They tried to copy what they did in Captain America: Winter Soldier, but it just didn't work. And the whole like, I had a lot of problems with this film. At the end of the film, it was a competent MCU film. It's not up there as like one of the best for me. Like
Terry, what about you?
The title sequence as well. The title sequence. Like, what the fuck is that?
Do you mean maybe like Luca? It's like a Pixar film, but it's not one of their top caliber films.
See, I think the opposite. I think Luca is very top caliber as well. The pacing was really good with that. But
I'm just saying.
I know what you mean.
I'm not comparing the films. I'm just saying, like, Luca wasn't the best Pixar film, and this hasn't been the best Marvel. But obviously, this is way better than like Thor: Into a Dark World. And I would say definitely better than Captain Marvel. What phase is this movie part of? This is phase 4, right? Yeah. So in the same set as like the series that are on Disney Plus as well. My thoughts are a bit mixed. I wanted to have my expectations nice and low coming into the film. I was a little bit taken aback because like Clint Barton and Black Widow are the two normies on the Avengers team.
No.
Like, I'm not saying they're normal people, but of the Avengers team, they are the most normal. They're humans. They're not like superhuman. They don't have super soldier serum. They don't have radioactive blood. They don't have the Iron Man suit. They're not the literal god of thunder from Asgard. And so like they're people that have honed to a very keen edge their skill set. She should have died multiple times. And I'm like, I'm fine. Movie suspense of disbelief. It's an action hero movie, and it's a superhero action hero movie. So you roll with those punches. I feel like a lot of the humor was hit and miss for me. So I feel like Taika Waititi in Thor Ragnarok set the bar for blending humor and really funny humor into the storyline really, really well. And I kind of feel like movies that have come out since then, they've tried to capture this comedic essence that he kind of brought to that film, and I feel like they consistently don't quite get it. And but other like certain parts of it I quite liked, like the conversation they have about the vest. Love that conversation. It's such a genuine little interaction between the two characters. Love it to bits. Most of the content with what was his name? Newsroom.
David
Harbour. Yeah, David Harbour. A lot of his characters' lines in the later parts of the movie, brilliant, just super funny. I really quite like the character and his likable stupidity.
That's a good way to say it.
It is quite nice. The only stuff that I know about Taskmaster isn't from the comics. It's actually from one of the animated things. He can't mimic Deadpool because Deadpool's so chaotic that Taskmaster's just got nothing to analyze, because he's like, you don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know what I'm going to do. And that's the only thing I know about Taskmaster. And I'd kind of forgotten that until you said that he was a comic book character. I'm like, Oh yeah, he is too. Isn't he the guy that like Deadpool can fight? But anyway,
What's his name?
Anybody in the movie ever say? Did anybody ever say Taskmaster?
I think it said
Activate Taskmaster Protocol or something like that.
It's when you first have it kind of turned on, they say it just that one time.
Yeah, I must have missed it as well, Ben, because when Jason said Taskmaster, I'm like, who is he talking about?
Okay.
I don't know.
The Shield.
I like a lot about the film. I like the choreography as well. I think that they stayed really nice and true. I loved the making fun of Black Widow's poses. Like Yelena is like, you do this thing where you land like this, and you flip your hair and your hand up, and she's like, you're a poser, and it's like, and she yeah, I don't know. I I love the way that they just kind of rib on that particular trope for that that character in the films. I was on board with most of the film. They completely lost me in the post-credit scene.
Yeah,
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Which probably makes its own sense because we don't know the motivations of this character in the post-screen stuff. We see her in the Falcon Winter Soldier series. She comes up in that. It's what's the actress's name? Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So the character is reprised in this postscript thing. I don't particularly understand what her character's motivations, and so if she's trying to be manipulative, sure, that checks out. But I'm like, anyone who understands what happened, like in the battle against Thanos, knows that like that's not what happened. But anyway, I don't have much else to say. So I'm mixed. I enjoyed watching it. The more I think back on it, the less about it that I'm like, that was a good Marvel film. I think it was an okay film. But would I feel bad if I had spent $30 on it? Probably. I think I'd be pretty... Even $15 at the movies, I'd probably be like, kind of wish I'd waited for that to come to a streaming service before watching it. Like Jen asked me, my wife asked me, would you go and watch it at the cinemas now that you've seen it? And I was like, I'd have to fully watch it before I could make that decision, and I've kind of made the decision that it's not worth going to see at the cinemas for me. Yeah, so those are my thoughts.
Mr. Movies.
You guys tackled a lot of thoughts that I carried. I love Florence Pugh, and she's in this, so this is great. Except her character doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm like, why is she just not crying all the time? She's had like the world's worst existence, and she's like cracking wires. I didn't love it, but that's fine. It's a Marvel movie. It's fine.
Humor can be a defense mechanism.
Maybe. Movies have rules, and sometimes movies break the rules and they're great, and sometimes movies show you why the rules are there in the first place, like this one. Like, there's a rule apparently that if you're going to have a character like the Taskmaster character and not put any investment into them, you need to have a familiar face. Like, can you guys, I'd love to hear like you guys reflect on if they just hired a regular person that you'd never seen before as the Taskmaster person, when they reveal their face and you would just go, well, who the fuck is this? You know, like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Instead, you see Olga Kurylenko and you're like, I remember her name in the credits, and I remember her in these movies I've seen before. It's done to get away with a bad habit of not investing any time in a character that is a reveal or something. It's like supposed to be a momentous occasion when we learn who this person is behind the mask or whatever, but they get away with not doing that work by just giving us Olga Kurylenko. Like, Olga Kurylenko didn't have to be in this movie. Like,
no, she didn't.
She doesn't bring anything to the film at all. I think except to break that rule. To enforce that rule.
I think
which shouldn't be there.
I think one of the biggest things for comic book nerds like me is Taskmaster is a known person. Like, his name is Anthony Masters, and it's a he. And I think we've already passed the spoiler part. And I think the big shock for the comic book nerds like me is Taskmaster is a woman in this.
Yeah, I watched this at the movies because I'm in ACT and don't have a lockdown. So I was in a room of 25, 30 people, and I didn't hear any gasps when Taskmaster was revealed.
Yeah, and look, I wasn't gasping as well. I just, but I saw that coming a mile away. I was like, of course. Like,
It's got to be
I don't
gone.
know. Yeah.
Another rule is, you're not supposed to reveal some sort of twist in a throwback. Like there's this thing that happens with pheromones. Like the big bad guy has this pheromone programming where no one can hurt him because they've been conditioned through this pheromonal contact or something. And then we learn that that's all part of a plan in a throwback, like it's a fucking heist movie all of a sudden, where you're saying like, it's all part of my plan, baby, and then it goes, you go back in time and you learn how they pulled off the thing. It's like in heist movies, it's only just okay. Like Rick and Morty pulled heist movies to pieces in not this season, last season, and rightfully so, because it's like a breaking a really important movie rule that's there for storytelling rules, like reasons. Like things feel like shit when that happens, and I just felt like, what the fuck is this shit? Like they're just like inventing a Chekhov's gun in the past now that they didn't show us before. It's just sloppy storytelling. I didn't like that at all, and I didn't like
Ocean's 11 like delves way into that, and I don't think it's any less.
Yeah, you're right. Ocean's 11 does, and it's like, how did they get in the vault and steal the money? And then it like literally shows you. It like just goes, here's a money showing you how we did it, and it goes do, and then they're off and they're in the breeze, and you're not supposed to be any of the wiser. It's like it's an unfortunate trope of the heist movie is you've got to be surprised at the end with what they've done. And so yeah, Focus does it, and Oceans does it, and heaps of movies like that.
Sherlock Holmes
does it. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes does it. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes does it, and they break that rule, right? But they do it in a really cool way, where you're like, what? But this one is just like, what?
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. Like someone else might have seen that twist with the pheromone thing and go, what? But she's like thought of this in advance and has a plan around it.
Yeah, like I thought that was interesting with the pheromones. Like, oh, that's interesting. Like that's a nice mechanic to like stop people from killing you. But like the whole reveal of how they get around that is just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
The other thing is something I heard before. So this isn't really like my original thought, but I totally gelled with this, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. That they're constantly looking for this red room thing, and they had a great opportunity for the Black Widow character to find the place that she's been before, have a flashback, and overcome something. Instead, it's like a flying citadel in the sky that no one has seen before, including any of the characters. It doesn't really have any story time significance for us. It's just a crazy bad guy in the clouds, and it's the first time we've seen that room. It's the first time we've seen the bad guy. It's the first time that we've uncovered the Taskmaster thing. It's just too much all at once, and then it's literally too much all at once when it's like people in CG gore just flying through the air, fighting each other, falling out of the sky. It's just way too much. And the fact that I don't think Black Widow beats up anybody. She doesn't win a fight. She just gets her ass kicked all movie long. I was like, it's a Marvel movie where she's supposed to like be a bit of a control of her destiny kind of character, instead of just forced into a corner, and then forced into a smaller corner, and then she's forced into the crevice of that corner, and then she comes up with a cool "now you see me" twist where she works it all out with the power of family, like a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah. You might have pheromones, but family's stronger.
Family's stronger. It's really good. I'm gonna say that to somebody now. The other thing I didn't really much care for is I'm just over everyone mentioning Captain America and everything. Like, remember Steve Rogers? We did that. Like, okay, this is a different movie. It's fine. I've seen Captain America and I've seen the Steve Rogers character in other movies. Stop
Yeah, but like,
Stop
think of it this way,
self-gratifying
like,
yourself in the movie by referencing.
within the whole Marvel universe, like Captain America is always at the top. He's omnipresent. He's always like the Superman character,
Yeah.
right? He is the super.
I appreciate that they have to do it, otherwise everyone's just going to go like, why don't the Avengers just show up and solve this problem? Like, why doesn't Captain America just show up and solve this problem? So they have to like drop many things where they go like,
Exactly.
we're not in speaking terms right now. He's off doing other important things right now. I don't know where he is.
Yeah, and that's a critique we have of something like Thor: The Dark World, right? Where like London is subject to this, you know, huge sci-fi attack. And like, where the fuck is everyone else? This is, you know, it's not like they could possibly have anything more important to do. So I don't mind they reference all the others. I think we'd be questioning it if they didn't.
That seems to be the critique for the Eternals, which I don't even know if is that out. Did that come out? Or was that just
no? It's coming out.
I think it's coming out still.
Yeah, they were like,
the end of this phase.
we normally don't interfere, but now we will. And it's like, well, hang on, the thing you're interfering, is that less or more of a threat than Thanos? Because just wanted to like, you know, work out what the threshold is for your non-interference thing to end. Anyway,
the only other thing I wanted to say, which I was confused about, maybe someone can explain this to me. I might have missed something. Is there's an icon that resembles the Widows project, and it's like an hourglass because they're women and they shaped like an hourglass. Great design. And it's like on the poster for Black Widow and all that kind of thing. And she is not part of that crew anymore, right? Like she's trying to wipe all of that from her ledger, she keeps saying. And they put the fucking logo on her tombstone. Like, here lies someone we care about a lot, and here's the logo of the program that she was a part of during the worst time of her life. Like, spit here is what they want to say. If you have to defecate on her grave, do it quickly and then leave. But if you want to spit, we've got the hourglass symbol right here on the tombstone for you to spit on her grave. I just didn't understand that visual piece of that.
I don't know if you guys read this into it. Into the film, but the Red Room being this flying fortress, I'm like, oh, it's like a helicarrier kind of thing because they're going up, and then it's like this janky single motor thing kind of spitting out the bottom to keep it, and like she just drops some stuff on the fan blade of one section of it and the whole thing goes critical, and I'm like, they literally turned off the fans of the helicarrier and it still managed to survive.
Are you saying it's like a metaphor for the pulling out of the, you know, the thing that they do in the Red Room? They're doing the Red Room operation to the Red Room?
That's not what I was thinking.
What are you talking about?
I was thinking about the fact that this guy is meant to be Russian. She was Russian. The Soviet Union featured partially in the opening sequence of the film, and so you've got the West is best helicarrier, and you've got the in Mother Russia gun pumps you kind of equivalent to the helicarrier, and it's slightly janky, not quite good. I'm not buying into it. I'm just saying, like, did anyone else think that?
Like
I thought it for a moment. I'm like,
the Russian version of the Quinjet as well is like
it's basically well the Russian version of those, they're almost like souped up oh goodness, what are they called, the gunships? No, they've got
Pelicans?
They're a type of helicopter that they have, and I can't remember the name of it.
VTOL? I'm on it.
But yeah, find out what the Russian helicopters are, Jason.
Russian VTOL?
That's a much less gruesome
way less than a hysterectomy. Yeah,
that's what I was going with. They're gonna suck the uterus out of the Russian space station or whatever.
And the ovaries.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All
I will say that
jump
scene
jet.
where they're talking about that stuff and they're kind of grossing out the Harbor's character, I'm like, that's such a silly cliche. Like, do not, like, anyone who isn't a 5-year-old kid at heart isn't going to be grossed out by these real life things. Sure, it sucked that it happened to them because it was against their will, but they're talking about like lady parts, and he's like, oh, please stop, no, please. I'm like, what? Like, really? That grosses you out? You've been in a gulag for like 20 years, but you're grossed out by hysterectomy, ovaries, and you know, labia talk? Just, I don't know. It seemed cheap to me to kind of slide that in there.
Yep.
Wow. So yeah, I didn't expect to be the only one who thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Yes, I definitely didn't thoroughly enjoy it, but I do love Florence Pugh when she was in the movie.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think she was my favorite character. She was my favorite character in the film. Yeah, 100%.
I had the same reaction though. I was like, oh crap, they've got Florence Pugh. Like when that Spider-Man one with Jake Gyllenhaal happened, and I was like, damn it, they got Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Now I like this movie more than I meant to.
I forgot one thing that really pissed me off, which is where you're first introduced to her character, and they're there to like find someone or maybe shoot someone, and they're like hundreds of meters, at least a couple of blocks away on roofs, laying down prone with sniper rifles, and like the person that they're scoping out looks out the window and it's like, oh, she made us. I'm like, how? What?
How the fuck?
Fuck off! No way!
Yeah. No way.
There's no way she saw you 3 blocks
And a lot
away.
of
It was broad daylight.
Yeah.
She was in dark clothing. They're all trained assassins.
She had a huge mattress there. You can spot a mattress on a roof.
No.
She was laying on a mattress.
Do you have any idea how small people look when they're that far? Anyway, it was just like there's no way that she saw someone through the scope. Like, it's just, no. I'm sorry. I tried to suspend my disbelief, but that part really stood up. I'm like, piss off. I know the movie has to happen. But that was really stupid.
Yep.
to me.
Agreed.
Anyway,
That's right.
I did enjoy it, just not a whole bunch.